Добар ден, го гледате неделното интервју на Радио Слободна Европа. Наш денешен гостин е британскиот амбасадор во Македонија, Чарлс Гарет. Амбасадоре, по оценките на Европската комисија за напредокот на Македонија во стварување на реформите, од заробена држава, како што беше наречена, до каде е земјата сега?
Well, it's clear to me, at least, that the government is absolutely determined to move forward on unpicking this captured state and to push forward the programme of reforms. And it's taken some very useful steps, concrete steps forward. But it's a really long road unpicking the captured state. It requires concerted effort over a long period. It'll require a real programme of engagement with citizens, getting them to buy into the reform. And also with civil society, to engage them on side. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Според вас, на која од клучните реформи треба да се фокусира владата?
Well, they're very clearly set out in the 369, and we're very pleased in the British Embassy to be working with our Macedonian partners on a range of reforms which we believe are urgent and important, and where Britain can bring particular expertise to the benefit of Macedonia. And those include areas like public administration, intelligence reform, something which came up a lot last week in the visit by Radmila Šekerinska to London was the strategic defence review. But there are many other areas as well, and these were very much the subject of conversations between Sir Alan Duncan and Mrs Šekerinska last week, and the Defence Secretary, Mrs Šekerinska. So we will continue to work on those. But it's, you know, a very long road, as I was saying earlier. The captured state is definitely a reform that needs to be made. It's something that needs to be addressed. But it's very difficult to define it very narrowly.
Оправдан ли е оптимизмот на премиерот Зоран Заев, кој очекува Македонија до јуни 2018 година да добие датум за почеток на преговори со Европската Унија?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you know, it's a huge hill to climb to get there by the middle of next year. There's an enormous amount to be done in the 369 programme. There's a lot more that needs to be done around captured state. There is, of course, the name issue that needs to be addressed. And these are things which are not entirely within the direct control of the government in Macedonia. So you can do all you like, but you're still dependent on other people to do things. So it is a difficult task ahead, but it's absolutely right to be optimistic. You know, if you don't aim high, you don't achieve high.
Врз основа на реформите од планот 369 на владата, Македонија ќе биде оценувана до каде во евроатланската агенда. Се доведува ли во прашање оваа агенда поради отсуството на опозицијата од собранието?
Well, in any democracy, the opposition plays an absolutely key role. Its activity in Parliament can helpfully test policies, improve legislation. They're engaged absolutely in oversight of the government's performance, and these things have a real impact. So if they're not providing that function of the opposition, then that too can have a negative impact. And I think it is very important that everyone comes together, all the parties in Parliament, because they all have a role to play in this, in making it possible for the opposition to come in and play its full role.
Како ја оценувате улогата на опозицијата со оглед на тоа дека поради притворањето на нивни пратеници ја бойкотираат работата на парламентот?
Questions about detention are absolutely for the judicial and prosecutorial officials to answer to, and questions around the lifting of immunity on detention for MPs is of course for Parliament itself. It's not for me as a foreign diplomat to talk about that, but we should focus on the fact that the events of the 27th of April were extremely violent events, and from what I and others have seen of the footage of that evening, it seems that at least part of it was subject to organisation. Now, this is a very, very serious issue and needs very serious investigation and follow-up with the due process of law. I think everyone in Macedonia, by and large, understands that and agrees with it, and it's not clear to me, how boycott of parliament can help achieve that goal.
Постои ли опасност од политичка криза доколку продолжи овој бојкот на парламентот од страна на опозицијата?
Well, I think that Macedonia has closed one chapter on the political crisis, and that, of course, is a very good step forward. But a lot of the underlying causes of the political crisis remain. The situation is still quite fragile. So I would say that risk remains, and it's incumbent on everyone involved to ensure that everything they do is targeted at moving the country to a safer, more stable, more secure place.
Медијаторот во спорот со името Метју Нимиц изрази оптимизам дека прашањето може да се реши во наредната година. Може ли спорот кој што се провлекува со години да биде решен во рок од неколку месеци?
Yes, absolutely. That is a reasonable objective, even in a relatively short time frame. I mean, I know this is a difficult subject. It's a complex subject. Opinions about it are very deeply held. It's a very emotional subject, and I think finding a proper resolution to it is going to require difficult decisions and real political courage. So I don't underestimate all of that. But we should be aware, I think, that there is a window of opportunity there, that the politicians on both sides are determined to do something about it. And I think that with the right determination, it is absolutely possible. We need to focus on the benefits that will flow from that resolution. It's absolutely clear to me that if you resolve that, Macedonia can move forward towards the Euro-Atlantic goals that it has chosen as its goals, strategic goals, and through that can make the country more stable, more secure and richer, because there will be obvious economic benefits from it.
Каква е вашата проценка во однос на искреноста на Грција за решавање на овој спор?
Well, in everything I've seen and heard, coming from both Athens and from Skopje, there is nothing there to make me doubt the honesty of anyone in this.
Од друга страна, дали Европската унија може да направи некаков притисок во решавање на спорот?
Well, what I think is absolutely clear in this is that the European Union, both the individual member states and the institutions, as well as other international partners, really see the benefits of resolution and really want it to happen. And I think it's important also to focus on the fact that the status quo is not a safe option in this. There is a price to be paid for staying where we all are in this. And as such, I think there is a great determination to come together and do what we can for the benefit of everyone concerned.
Британија е домаќин на самитот за Западен Балкан наредната година. Колку овој самит може да има некакво влијание во однос на евроатлантските интеграции на земјите од Западен Балкан?
Well, the summit next year in the UK will be just the latest step in the Berlin process. So it'll be a continuation of that to a certain extent. And because of our long-standing interest in the Balkans, because of our shared interest with countries like Macedonia and the other countries in the Balkans, we're delighted to be able to host this summit next year, which will be our 25th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Britain and Macedonia. The areas that we're going to focus on fall into two broad fields. One is around security, and we'll be doing a lot of work on serious organised crime, anti-corruption work, counter-terrorism, countering violent extremism, areas like that, which picks up a lot of the work done very usefully at the Trieste summit and summits before that and continues that. And the other major field is that of prosperity, of providing real boost to economic opportunity here in the region. And that will continue the very useful work already done around infrastructure and interconnectivity, but also picking up areas where Britain has something particular to bring to the summit and to the conversation, around entrepreneurialism, around the digital area, IT and so on, using the skills and expertise that exists in the city and elsewhere in the United Kingdom, and building, I hope, also on the summit that's going to take place, the meeting that's going to take place here in Skopje on digital issues in the Western Balkans in April.
Ви благодарам за издвоеното време.
Ви благодарам.
Тоа беше се во неделното интервју на Радио Слободна Европа. До гледање.